Hello people, this is Mark from KharisChangeWorks. Guys, hope that you are well. Little short story for you. This one, I think, is of such importance that if we as adults can learn the lesson in this short story, we would achieve a lot. I'll give a little synopsis, and it's this kid who's at school who experiences an embarrassing moment, who's, shall we say, rescued by someone else. It's a story of empathy. Now, sympathy and empathy sounds the same, but they are worlds apart. I'd much rather deal with people who have high doses of empathy than high doses of sympathy. It's a big difference. So before we get into the little story for today, I'm going to ask you just to do all the YouTube admin, the old thumbs up, hit that like button please, share, subscribe, tell all your friends, tell all your family, comment in the box please, and of course, if you hit the notification bell, there's a little sub menu that comes out, and pick all. That way you'll be notified every single day when we upload our videos. Let's get to this little story. And it reads as follows. A 9-year-old kid was sitting at his desk when suddenly there was a puddle between his feet and the front of his pants was wet. He thinks his heart is going to stop because he cannot possibly imagine how this has happened. It's never happened before, and now he knows that when the boys find out, he will never hear the end of it. And when the girls find out, they will never speak to him again for as long as he lives. The boy believes his heart is going to stop. He puts his head down and prays this prayer. Dear God, this is an emergency. I need help now. 5 minutes from now, I'm dead meat. He looks up from his prayer, and here comes the teacher with a look in her eyes that says she's knows what's just happened. As the teacher is walking towards him, a classmate named Susie is carrying a goldfish bowl that is filled with water. She trips in front of the teacher and dumps the bowl of water into the boy's lap. The boy pretends to be angry, but all the while he's saying to himself, "Thank God. Thank you, Lord." Now all of a sudden, instead of being the object of ridicule, the boy is the object of sympathy. The teacher rushes him downstairs and gives him some gym shorts to put on while his pants dry out. All the other children are on their hands and knees cleaning up around his desk. The sympathy is wonderful, but as life would have it, that ridicule that should have been his has now been transferred to someone else, Susie. She tries to help, but they tell her to get out. "You've done enough, you clots," is being said. Finally, at the end of the day, as they are waiting for the bus, the boy walks over to Susie and whispers, "You did that on purpose, didn't you?" Susie whispered back, "I wet my pants once too." What a nice little story where Susie has experience of the embarrassment of having some wet pants. So she has an idea of how that feels. Maybe she herself was ridiculed for being a little baby. Maybe she was the object of scorn. She knows how it feels to be ridiculed and being spoken about. She knows how it feels that these accidents weren't necessarily planned. These things sometimes takes place. You see, the story doesn't tell us the age, but we have to assume that they were quite young. Now this boy is experiencing the exact same thing as his friend Susie. He now is experiencing the embarrassment. But somehow he's got more to lose. You see, his boyfriends now will tease him. They will poke fun at him. They will continually talk about it over and over again to make him feel even worse than he already does. So he's got a lot to lose as far as those friends are concerned. But now he's got a double dilemma, because now the girls will also do exactly the same. But you see, their tact might be very different in the sense that they might not ridicule him. They won't tease him. In fact, they might just simply ignore him and push him to one side. So this young man has got a big problem on his hands. Plus, the fact that he's in school, that makes it even worse, because now this accident has happened in front of loads of people. And of course, the worst person to have this happen in front of is, of course, the teacher. And as we read in a little story, the teacher has got some experience with this, because she had that look in her eyes saying, "Oh man, not again." That kind of look in her face. We've all experienced that in our lives, surely. And this is where the beauty comes in. Now, the story talks about sympathy. But let me tell you, I don't think it's sympathy. I think it's more empathy. Where this girl called Susie comes in, and at that point of observing that, this kid has wet his pants. She remembers the ridicule. She remembers the embarrassment. She remembers the teasing. She remembers the scorn. She remembers all those things. And because of empathy, she creates a bit of a scene. And she takes the water from the goldfish bowl and spills it onto his lap. She now becomes the scapegoat. As the story says, they were talking to her in terms of, "You clots." Now, I don't know if that's better or worse, but to be called something like that surely is not a good thing. But her actions speak of, dare I say, unconditional love. It talks about not wanting other people to experience that embarrassment, the ridicule, the shame, the loss of friendships, isolation. Consider, if it's young kids, the impact on their mental health, their social circles, relationships, that's what I'm saying. And she bails him out. And now all of a sudden this young man is freed from this embarrassment. He dares ask her, "You did this on purpose, didn't you?" And her answer is quite astonishing if we sit and think about it. "I too once wet my pants." Now, I don't know what you've done in the past, the mistakes that you've made. those embarrassing situations that you might have had to deal with in time. Only when you experience these embarrassing moments, the shame, maybe some guilt, who knows, doesn't that produce empathy? Now, empathy is, in my speak, it is about feeling the same things as the other person as if you were them. It is deliberately putting yourself in their shoes and experiencing their world, how they would experience it, denying your own feelings and emotions. It is the ability to say, I feel with, not necessarily I feel for. And in today's world, let me tell you now that the world is full of people who are rich in sympathy. Oh, shame. And then they do nothing about it. Chances are they'll go back to their friends and go, hey, did you hear about so-and-so? They experienced this happened to them. Oh, what a shame. And inadvertently, they are actually increasing the negative effect. You see, when those others now come and speak to you, it's very much a matter of, oh dear, I wonder if this is going to happen to him again. I wonder if this is going to happen to her again. Because it happened before, of course. Well, so-and-so come and told us. We don't consider the knock-on effects of such ridicule and embarrassing moments. But in a world where people are rich in sympathy, oh shame, very few have empathy. Because they've got no experience, they don't know nothing. They think they do, because they're sympathetic. They're sympathetic. But of course the issue in life nowadays particularly is, if you've got no idea what you're talking about on the basis of experience, you simply don't know what you're talking about. You might make things even worse. Because believe you me, the minute you experience things like other people experience things, not necessarily the circumstances, but the effect it has on you emotionally and psychologically, you keep your mouth shut. Because then you will understand. It's not nice. Not necessarily embarrassing, but it might be shameful. The impact might be quite devastating. And there's a lot of people who simply don't care. As far as I do care goes, they say it, but they've got no ability to demonstrate it. It is as if all emotional and all psychological reference points, as Laura and myself would mention from time to time on this channel, it is non-existent. It is if you are just there. It is as if you don't necessarily matter. That is the cruel world we live in today, my friend. Rich in sympathy. Oh, shame. Poor in empathy. Now, I'm not saying that you have to experience the things in life for you to have empathy. In that case, we'll end up being nervous wrecks. But empathy is this ability to effectively just say, I'm going to suspend my feelings and my emotions and my thoughts for the next 5 or 10 minutes. And I'm going to imagine at the best of my ability what it might feel like if that kind of thing happened to me. What would I say? What would I think? What would I do? How would I respond? How would that impact me? Then all of a sudden it becomes a completely different story. I refer to it as awareness. Susie had awareness. This young kid experienced unconditional positive regard, if I were to speak Carl Rogers in person-centered therapy. That's all I want to say in today's little story. It's really rich today. And it's something that we as people need to learn today too. I wonder who's bold enough and courageous enough to say, I could do with a little bit more empathy and suspend sympathy. That's it. I hope you found this little story today to be one that will open your eyes to another experience. I hope that today that this has challenged you. I hope that today that this has encouraged you. If it has, I would like to hear your comments in the comments box, please. And if you feel that this is going to be helpful for friends and family, please let them have this video. And while you're there, tell them about the channel, please. For now, this is Mark from KharisChangeWorks, and I'll speak to you soon.